Hey everybody, this is Richard Wharton of Online Bike Coach, Cycling Center Dallas, and now Bicycle Evolution. And today we're going to do an interview with a consulting client of mine. His name is Robin Blomquist, and Robin is a 2-year experienced mountain biker. I'm really excited about what we can talk about today. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of his empirical data, but what we're really excited about is Robin just got done with a university general exercise test, and I want to show you the comparison between what Xert is showing us and what the lab is showing us. I think you're going to be really excited about the results. So, Robin, do you have anything else you want to add to your cross-country cycling history or maybe your general fitness history?
Hi, Richard. Thanks for having me. So I've been an athlete all my life, but mostly doing some soccer, ice hockey, and so on. I just wanted to find something new, and I did find mountain biking just out of coincidence. So that's me, biking for 2 years, but I'm having an athletic background just before that.
Fantastic. That's really good. And your background was you didn't really know much about mountain biking. Did you have any bicycling handling, skills to pick up or learn or anything like that?
Yeah, I did a couple of years of motocross when I was younger.
Got it.
So yes, so I had some basic, yeah, exactly, some basic balance in there. I did have that though, but that was with an engine, not myself as an engine.
Exactly, exactly. So that's good, because if we think about the 4 S's of athletics, we have stamina, speed, strength, and skill. And the one thing about mountain biking is you can have a little bit less stamina, a little bit less speed, a little bit less strength, but if you're really, really, really skilled, that can make up some of the difference in the other 3 components. What we want to do, though, is help you build the complete package. And that's what we're going to go look at next. So we're going to start by doing a screen share. I'm going to start over here and set this up. Can you see your own screen here?
Yeah, I can.
All right, great. Robin first approached me maybe 6 or 8 months ago, and when I looked at his numbers, I thought, wow, is this really this guy's coming to me? These are great numbers. But let me set up the annotations real quickly, and I'll go right there. But we have a 338 watt threshold cyclist who is setting himself up in the 4-minute power to weight ratio, because that's what the cross country demands are. You've got sort of short biting hills, and we're looking to get this to maybe go up a little bit. And I'm not going to worry too much about the training pacer, because we talked about this a little bit, but if we specifically look at his rolling 3 months, I'm going to start with some of the signature stuff. So in the early months of January, early time in January, we had a 327 watt rider with a peak power of 1,563 watts. That's a lot of electricity coming out of the drivetrain. I'm really stoked to see those numbers. But as a mountain biker, remember, you're going to be dipping into that. You're going to be using some of that peak power to even just get over some of the rock gardens and to make your way through other things. Furthermore, what also makes Robin so unique is that he shows an HIE, which is that anaerobic capacity of about 33.7 kilojoules. Now, this is in the winter, which is the preseason in Sweden. So we're really kind of, it's kind of a neat thing to see. Then we look at his lower threshold power. So Robin, you show a lower threshold of 242. That's still really nice. But when I see the window of tempo between 327 and 242, that's the first place that I start to think, maybe we could work on a little bit more economy training, boost the LTP, and not necessarily work quite as hard on the FTP. And what happened is, after we had some of our discussions, Robin, I think this was around when you started coming back into form. Am I about right?
Looks like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we went out and did a test, not a test, but we did a good hard interval workout set, and we got much more accurate data overall. Okay, So now we've got a 350 watt rider at a 257 watt lower threshold. Still a gap, but again, that's kind of a nice delta between 244 and 257. It buys you, those extra watts are going to buy you, 3 calories per minute of economy, which is stuff that you could put into open areas between forests, maybe Jeep trails, other things like that. Places where you can create a gap. And with mountain biking, as you know, out of sight means out of mind.
That's
So
true.
if you mentally defeat your opponent, it becomes your race against the mountain or the trail instead of having to fight to catch or fight to drop. Then we also still have a peak power in the 1500 range. Well, here comes, I think, what may have been your first outdoor ride of the season, perhaps?
Yeah, that was an outdoor ride.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I
Yeah,
did find some small hills without snow on them, so I tried to push pretty hard on
excellent.
some small intervals there.
Wonderful. And again, we still are dealing with some liminal seasonality. So we're doing some indoor training, we're doing some outdoor training. But
Yeah.
look at what you've got. You're back up to 1550 watts. You've got 37.3 kilojoules of anaerobic capacity. Now, let's talk about that anaerobic capacity as a mountain biker. Think about all of the stochastic pedal strokes that make up sort of your local favorite circuit. Does it sort of resemble a lot of on and off and on and off and on and off?
Yeah, I think it's never rest. I
It's
think it's
never
on and
rest.
off all the time.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Very cool. And so you can see why some people may want to, do sort of the single speed aspect because they know that, they can zoom and then recover by dealing just with navigation. And again, those
mm,
bike handling skills, trying to handle the terrain with their core and their torso. But when you grow your anaerobic capacity, it gives you this big fat bank account from which you can draw the higher wattage intervals that will give you those little 10 meter, 15 meter, 20 meter gaps. And that forces the other person into what I call a slinky effect. And they have to fight to get back on. Do you see what I'm saying? They may
yeah.
think they're drafting, but they also don't have the view that you've got. And finally, if you, what in again, this is I'm talking about Texas and maybe living when I was living in the Northwest, in living in Scandinavia, how do the first 500 meters of a cross country mountain bike race, how important are those to the actual finish of the entire event?
It's a lot of stuff happening in the beginning, to be honest. You have to make the position
Exactly.
because there will be single tracks pretty soon. And if you don't have the position before that starts, you go into the single tracks, you could be in trouble.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Because Robin, when you go out and give yourself a 8, 900, 1,000 watt 30-second effort, which you can do, sure, you're going to bite into your MPA a little bit, all right? But at the same time, you've got a bank reserve. So if you
Mm.
set your selection to the top 3 or the top 5, or even maybe get the whole shot going into the single track, then you have the grace of dialing it back and focusing on your bike handling skills, or trying to make the bridge, or get a gap in a tight section or something like that, because
Mm.
everyone else has limited visibility. They're looking at your tire, they're not looking at the 30 meters and 40 meters and 50 meters ahead, whereas you might be able to see through the trees a little bit better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds great anyway.
Just a little, exactly, in theory. Here we are talking in theory.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so for the viewers, here's what I want you all to think about. So what day did we do this test? Was it Wednesday or Tuesday? What day was it?
Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Okay, so here, let's
Yeah.
look at, here I am looking at Wednesday, March the 13th. And I'll put this up on the screen for everyone, but just for the sake of brevity while we're communicating, Robin shows in Xert a 338 watt FTP and a 246 watt LTP. FTP stands for functional threshold power, and LTP stands for lower threshold power. Those are roughly synonymous with VT1 and VT2, and or LT1 and LT2, looking at ventilatory thresholds and lactate threshold. So, Robin, tell me a little bit about this.
Yeah, so that's me on the Monarch bike there at the great guy. His name is Don, and Don is running that lab. And I just brought my Garmin Vector 3 pedals.
Yay!
Yeah, to be able to compare the data in detail afterwards, because I do know that the Monarch bike, it measures on the wheel, so to say, and that is not what I have regularly on my mountain bike or my road bike. So I wanted to make certain that the data I did have from the lab was being able to measure that as closely as possible to my normal data.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Man, this makes me all happy pants right here. So let's zoom in just a little bit more. And if we look at here, what is that right there?
Oh, that's my 1030, my Garmin 1030, and Don actually put that upside down because he didn't think I should see the MPA while I was doing the test. But
I got to meet this guy. He knows what he's doing. This is great. Fantastic.
And so on the screen I have there, I couldn't see my pulse either. I wasn't allowed to see my pulse.
Okay.
I could see the RPM and I could see the wattage that was done in in the Monarch.
Got it. Understood. So we're looking here. We've got you before we've put the mask on. We've got all these great computers that are trapping all of this data, and then they put this on you. Tell me a little bit about what this is, right there.
Oh, so that is the VO2 max mask that I have on, and we did a lot of, and Don is very, very careful, so he makes all the calibrations before, and everyone has to leave the room, clear out all the bad oxygen and so on, and
Wonderful.
Makes the calibration. Yeah,
he's trapping gas data. That's just great. And of course, again, you're probably trapping some of the data on your watch as well. And once
no, I'm not cheating there. I just forgot to take it off. That's my Garmin Phoenix, though. But yeah,
good to hear. Good to see. And so again, he's probably staring at some of this stuff, and of course, he's looking at it from behind. I think I see your pulse right there. Is that reading? Your heart rate's reading 126, give or take.
Yeah, that's probably the wattage, to be honest.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I never seen that screen, so I never looked in that screen before.
So you are relying on perception while we get to use analysis, and we'll look at the analysis paralysis in just a second. Here's your VO2. Here's your absolute VO2. Here's your ventilatory fraction, and let me see. I don't know. I'll see if I can define that number in just a second. So this is based on milliliters per kilogram per minute. This is based on absolute liters per minute, and this is a fraction of O2 to CO2 coming in and going out. All right. So you then go through the test, and let's run this video real quickly. Okay?
All right. Yeah, that's me fighting. Yeah, so this is the last minute of the test.
Bye.
Yeah, push. Oh, wow. Are you showing the... Oh.
Yeah, go, Robin, go. Bleed from the ears.
I'm so... And it yells at me, up with your head, don't look down.
Yeah.
Up with your head.
Come on.
And I'm just about to... No, this is the end. I'm just soon falling out. Yeah. Oh.
He's going. Yeah, baby, yeah. Come on.
Push. And now this is the final one. I try just a few more seconds. Just a few more seconds. And
I'm loving this. This is great. And the cadence finally comes down.
Yeah, and
You're,
oh.
oh, I love it. I love it. I'm falling off the map here. Oh, that's great. Man, that's just awesome. You left with nothing left. That's my hashtag, by the way. Leave with nothing left. And that was you. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. And the best part,
Yeah,
we got the data on the pedals. We got the data in the Garmin. We got the
yeah,
data on the screen, and we got
yeah,
the data in your head. Okay.
yeah.
So guess what? Now we're going to look at the comparison between the. Get back in there. Let me zoom it a little bit more. How about that?
Yeah.
Now, this is great, and this I'm really grateful for. But look at the deltas, folks, between the Garmin and the Monarch, okay? And if you look, it's pretty pronounced, but the difference is that the Monarch is measuring the data at the exit point of the energy system. So the energy, remember my motto, folks, and that is when we use energy, we generate power, and then we measure fitness. Okay? And so as Robin used the energy, it started between his ears, and then it was transmitted electrically down into the quads and the calves and the lungs and the heart and all the way into the pedals where the measurement began on the vectors. We measured bending in the cranks, friction in the hub, friction in the drivetrain, and then there's a belt on these Monarchs that actually increases and decreases the drag. And so you're losing energy as you exit the system, which is why oiling your chain is important, which is why if it's a road bike or a mountain bike, low rolling resistance tires can make a difference. Little things add up marginally. And so we have deltas that Robin built for us. There's 7.75%, pretty big 8.5, 7.75, but it sort of stabilizes until about the final interval that he got done. Okay, and so if we look at it, we're sliding. This is the sliding scale right over here, and it ends up at about 6%, and the total average ended up being about 7.5%. Honestly, for an indoor bike like that, that sounds about right. Okay, now what matters most? The data that matters is not the data coming off of the indoor ergometer. It's the data that Robin's going to be using outdoors because it's the most practical to apply. Make sense?
Yeah.
And great. So Robin's, remember, let's dip back over here. We thought on Wednesday that Robin was blowing a 338 and a 246. And so now, if we pull this in, this is the power zones. We will zoom in on that. And we've got, let's see. All right, so it is claiming that your first lactate was at 200, let's see.
The Xert data. Oh, so the Xert data there was the day before. So
Okay.
so you're right to look at the Xert data, Xert data for Wednesday. Yeah.
Got it. So this is the prediction of 250?
Yeah.
Okay.
From Xert. Yeah.
This is uncanny. Okay. This is when Robin phoned me from the vehicle. And by the way, I love a shrunk world. I love it. I have phone calls with Robin. If Robin texts me, I pick up the phone and I VoIP him. If I've got a client in Australia, I pick up the phone and I VoIP him. We have shrunk the world and it is all practically free. So folks, if you got a question, pick up the phone and VoIP me. I'll answer it because I'm interested in you. It's fascinating. And again, I'm not paid by Xert. I'm a completely independent coach. But look at this. What did we predict? We predicted a
338.
Let me start with the bottom one here, Okay,
Yeah,
so
Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday.
we predicted a.
Oh, further on Wednesday 13th or something like that.
That's what it was. I beg your pardon here. So,
There
okay,
you
we
go.
predicted a 246 and a
Yeah.
338. Let me zoom that up a little bit so that the audience can see. Okay, so we're going to do a 246 and a 338. 246 and 338. And what did we get? We got a 250.
No,
I'm sorry.
Garmin Lab. There you
Robin
go.
Lab. Got it. Okay, so
Yeah.
we got a 237
Yeah.
and a 340. A
Yeah.
237 instead of a 246, which
Yeah.
it's close enough for nukes and darts, okay? And a 340. So the prediction was a 338. 340, 2 watts. That's inside of 1%, folks. That's what makes this so uncanny. So, I mean, that's where the whole gist of this discussion really, really got me excited. As much as I love seeing the lab data, I think it's safe to assume that when your Xert gives you these numbers, they're kind of really accurate. All right? Really accurate. So trust the numbers, know the numbers, use the colors and the fields, and then pay attention to the focus. And now let me zoom out just a little bit and let's see where where Robin's focus is. Here we go. There it is right there. And as of Wednesday, right now in March, and when is your first big series event? End of April?
End of April, 20th of April.
Okay, so we've got 6 weeks from the time of this video. You are at a 10-minute focus.
Yeah.
And so where are you going to start spending some more of your time when you're doing your HIIT intervals?
I'm going to spend some more puncher time. So I'm going to focus on the puncher and to focus on like the 3-4 minute as my profile says.
Exactly. And let's look at that real quickly. Let's pull up and let's take a look at Wednesday's ride from the point of view of the Garmin file. And I want to look at the Wingate as well. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So we'll
and excuse my week. The training week. It's been disaster for all traveling.
Life gets in the way. Life gets in the way. You're totally fine with this. All right. This is one of my favorite charts. This is what Robin and I look at whenever we talk. So again, folks, you don't have to be a full-on weekly client. You can do the consulting thing. And if we look, right there is his 3-minute mean max power. And I don't know if you all know that or not, but anytime you spend above your 3-minute mean max at the beginning of, or as if your ride is relatively fresh and your MPA is sort of really near its peak, that's where your color of the watts will change from black to yellow. And so that is where the purple area of your stress and strain will grow. And if we look right over here at the stress line, you can see there's Wednesday right there, and you can see that he's got a total of a 22-day rolling average of 28.3 kilojoules of HIE, high stress. We look at it strain-wise to see how that affected things. You will see that Thursday's ride was actually more powerful than Wednesday's, because let's face it, he was trying to save himself. He was trying to save himself to get the data. So you turn right around on Thursday and look at what Thursday got you. Thursday got you 24 kilojoules, all right? There's 11 on the first day and then 24 on the second, right there. And so by doing that, by going in here and riding your bike at intensities above 530 watts, you are growing your MAP, your maximal aerobic power, and you are pushing your focus from infinity towards zero. Zero being infinitely hard, infinity being infinitely easy. And so when you get to some of your HIT intervals, which you can now fartlek because you get to go outdoors, you will be
At
able to,
last, yay.
exactly. I know we all have seasonal affectiveness disorder up in the north. You are then able to get the intensity that you need to pull that focus line up,
Upwards.
up,
Yeah.
up, 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 up. Don't forget to do your LSD. And in your case, the LSD is going to occur out in the sub 250 watt range. Okay. Right there, 245, 247, 250, and let that float a little bit. Let me interrupt with one other thing. The 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 thing I talked about with Robin with your gap between your threshold and your lower threshold.
Yeah.
You and I had this discussion last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but one of the things I can be that we have to remember is mountain bikers are not built like roadies. We do want a high lower threshold, but how long are your races?
About 70 minutes, 60 to 80, about 70 minutes.
They're inside of 90 minutes, and there's a lot of intensity. Okay, and so you go for the whole shot, and if you don't get the whole shot, then you've got to work on try to depend on the other person to make mistakes so that you can then reel them in. See where your strengths are. Make sure that you've got hope your suspension is built just right so that you can keep traction on the slick stuff, or ride the edge on the single track, things like that. Make sure that your descending power is good. Make sure that you don't dab, other things like that. So in my opinion, as a recreational mountain biker, this gap is not the worst thing in the world. But what was the one thing that the professor said at the end of the discussion?
That was quite funny, actually. When we sat down after I did all the tests, he reviewed the data and he said, you know what, Robin? The gap here between your lower threshold and your threshold could be a bit wide. You perhaps should work on that.
Excellent. Very, very cool. That is just great. So we now know what our marching orders are. We're 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Robin and I may have another conversation in the next couple of, maybe in a month or so, but he knows how to do his intervals appropriately for focus. And then he can look at the planner, which will then show the stats. Let's let that populate. And we can work on polarity, we can work on focus, and we can work on suggested focus and weekly focus. So are you excited about the data that Xert's given you over the past couple of months?
To be honest, I'm really excited. I was a bit curious though, because I'd done a lot of indoor, quite boring exercises this winter, and I'm really looking forward to go outside. So, and when we discussed a couple of weeks ago, you said I had to trust the numbers and so on. And now after doing this lab test, I feel comfortable. And it's not exactly specific data point that is of interest. It's not if it's 310 or 290 or 343 or whatever. Right. It's the trend, and to know that I'm focusing on the right focus, on the right type of training.
Absolutely.
So what I do, I really trust the trends and the details in the data at Xert platform. It shows me where to focus.
That's just it. Exactly. We use the word focus as it's become trite, but it really is true. And then if we look at the color of the focus, that's going to determine our polarity. And so we now know that, again, as we get into the season, you actually will be riding a little bit less and you'll be focusing more. And that will grow your ability. And again, I think we could maybe get you to 38 or 39 or 40 kilojoules of HIE. Because if we do that, that's going to allow you to make deeper digs for longer, which is only going to help and give you the gaps. We never want to use all of the arrows in our quiver, but you've got a lot more arrows because you've been trusting the numbers. And that is what is the winning formula right there. Perfect.
Cool.
Listen, thank you for taking the time with me in what would be the evening for you and around midday for me. Folks, if you are curious about Xert or the information that it provides, feel free to contact us. You can contact me directly through onlinebikecoach.com. cyclingcenterdallas.com, and now Bicycle Evolution, which is available at no-pain.bike. And let's watch Robin throughout this season and see how he does, because we are giving him stamina, he is building strength and speed, and he is developing skill. But skill is now not just handling the bike, it's learning how to use the Xert values to greater and greater effect, both on the bike and on the mountain bike. All right, thanks for watching. And Robin, you got any final comments you want to add?
No, thank you very much, Richard. I'm just looking forward to get outdoors. I'm actually going out this Saturday and Sunday this weekend and try the bike outdoors.
Please enjoy your fitness, and you don't need luck because you have developed so much skill. You have truly been the proverbial caterpillar into the cocoon, and now you are going to become a butterfly. You are going to go continental, man. It's going to be all about travel. So listen,
lots
folks,
of proof, though. Yeah, I'll have to prove it.
You'll make it.
Okay, thank you.
Listen, gang, thank you so much for everything. And again, if you have questions, leave them below, and we will see you out on the road, or the trail in this case.